Hi there, and welcome to the Gazette's weekly Hockey Inside Out show. I'm Stu Count of the Gazette, and I'm joined this week by my regular partners here, former Canadiens teammates and 1986 Stanley Cup champions, Chris Nilan and Rick Green. Well, guys, the Canadiens beat the Carolina Hurricanes 5-2 Tuesday night at the Bell Center after falling behind 2-0 in the first period, during which they were totally outplayed. They were outshot 43-19 in the game, with Jakub Dobes making 41 saves. Knuckles and Marty St. Louis news conference after the game, I asked him what lessons his team could learn from a game like that, and he said he'd have to rewatch the video in order to really give an answer. So I'm going to ask you for the answer. What can the Canadiens learn from that game?
Well, that'll give you something to do today. You can go to the rink and ask him again. Listen, I get it. He wants to watch the video before he says anything, but really the first period, they come out of the gate really slow. Come on, what was it, 17-4 shots in the first period? You know, they couldn't do anything. They were trying to get the zone. Carolina was frustrating them. It certainly didn't look like, you know, this team on certain nights, right? Especially the last game. And they stuck with it. They come out, to their credit, they come out in the second period. Again, the cardiac kids, all they do is come back. Well, yeah, you know, they've been awesome at that. But again, Dobes. He did it against Boston. That game against Boston, they could have been down 4-1, game over, see you later. He made some huge saves, keep him in to win that game. That's a huge 2 points. Last night, again, that kid made saves. He battles. That's impressive. And it's good to see them come back the way they did. But, still, for me, at times, in their own end of the rink, they give up so many golden opportunities. And you know, if they make the playoffs here, man, it gets physical, it gets tight. You can't give up those opportunities. And listen, you're gonna at times, there's no question, but the number of them is a little much.
I know on Twitter or X last night, Rick, when they fell behind 2-0, one fan said, "That's it, I'm switching to Netflix." Not a good idea with this team this year, the way they can come back. But what did you take away from last night's game?
You know, obviously a tough start to see that type of performance. And they could have been behind like 7 goals, you know, in the first part of the game. And Dobie stood on his head and allowed them to settle down and give them a chance to win. And I think maybe they better load up on some more smelling salts to get to the guys on the bench a little bit earlier, because they seem to be asleep and do a lot of watching. And Carolina was like licking their chops, having a lot of freebies. And that's not the kind of games that you want to continue to see happening, you know, moving forward as we're continue to, you know, deal with crunch time. And hopefully they've learned from it. But you got to give them full marks that they found a way to get back into it. They found ways to score goals, which they do so well. They're really a dangerous club when they get going, and everybody's you know, finding ways to contribute, and they're tough to play against right now. And you know, it should be interesting down the stretch to see how they continue to find ways to win, because we know the importance of every point.
You see those guys on the bench, Rick, with those smelling salts. You guys use those back in your day?
You know, the guy that used it the most was Jacques Laperriere. I don't know whether it was just to keep him awake or what it was, but yeah, we used to say, "What is that smell?" We looked behind, and Lappy would have the smelling salts. And I have to tell you a quick story about a guy that loves smelling salts. Was a guy in L.A., Daryl Sador, coach in L.A., and Larry and I look at each other, "What's that smell?" And we looked down, and he had a smelling salt stuck in his glove. And every shift, he would take a little sniff to see if that was going to help his play. But anyways, whatever you need to do to get yourself ready to play, be ready to play. And sometimes it's quite entertaining.
Well, Knuckles, I mean, watching that first period last night, and I was thinking, boy, this is almost like a playoff preview, a big experienced playoff team really taking it to the young Habs and just dominating them. I mean, the Canadiens play such an exciting style of play, and as you mentioned earlier, you know, you can never count them out even though they're down. But is this style going to work in the playoffs, or are they going to be in trouble if they run into a team like Carolina?
That's the one area I worry about. Listen, you got Danault, Gallagher, and Anderson, that line. And when you look through the rest, I mean, Bolduc, okay, he's going to hit some nights. He's going to be there some nights that way. but I don't think consistently enough. And then you got Slav. You need those big wingers that are able to control the puck, being able to be strong on the boards. And I think you look at how many turnovers they have inside their own blue line on the wall. Like, it gets turned over. You think the puck's out, and then boom, it's back in. They get another opportunity. The playoffs, that's going to get much worse, as far as pressure from the other team, bigger teams that play that style of game. And listen, I want to see them do well, but that's an area they have to get better at. When they come out of their zone clean, that's great. But boy, teams pressure them, and next thing you know, the puck gets kept in, and they create another opportunity. So, yeah, and then when teams stand them up and they flood them in the neutral zone and don't allow them to carry the puck into the zone, they turn pucks over at the far blue line and go the other way. I mean, that's part of the game. But if you have a good team that's able to defend that, recognize that, and recognize how to defend against a team like that, a really good offensive team off the rush, you can frustrate them and go the other way. But, yeah, playoff hockey, we saw it last year. Totally different game when it comes to the playoffs.
After the game last night, Rick, I was talking with Noah Dobson, and he said, the Hurricanes play that man-on-man sort of tough forecheck, and he said as the game moved on, he started skating the puck out more to try and break away from that. But what's your biggest concern with this team? We can't take for granted they're going to get in the playoffs. The standings are so tight. It's crazy. But what's your biggest concern if the Canadiens do indeed get there?
I hope, judging from my experiences, the defense especially better be ready for some serious physical play as far as the aggressiveness on the forecheck. Guys are going to be coming in, and they're going to be ready to knock you off the puck. So you better be ready for that. You better be prepared as pairings to be helping each other out. And one thing that I've seen over and over again is their inability to physically be strong in front of the net, which results in opportunity for shots getting through and deflection. So they have to really dig down deep to get their physical play out there, because it's going to be a war in front of the net. It's going to be a war in the corners. There's going to be so much battling one-on-one, and the referees are going to allow, as we've seen before, playoffs is a different game. They're going to allow a lot more of that physical play, and if they're not prepared to really dig in and be involved physically and try and push guys, then they're going to be on the receiving end. And just get yourself geared up, because the playoffs is a whole different ballgame.
Well, Jakub Dobes, you mentioned earlier, he was outstanding against Carolina. I loved after the game when he was named the first star and he did an interview and he started up and saying, "Ça va, Montreal?" Sort of that confidence, sort of cockiness I think you need to have to be a goalie in this city. Do you think he's shown enough now that maybe Marty St. Louis should just make him the number one goalie and sort of ride him the rest of the way towards the playoffs with Fowler as a backup?
Yeah, it's possible. I think he's shown enough. I mean, look at his record. I mean, their save percentage is 2 points different, right? Like Dobes and Fowler. Fowler's certainly played less, 6 and 5. But you look at his record. This team, when he's in the net, they win hockey games. They feel confident in front of him, and certainly, he's got that great attitude. And to come out and say "Ça va, Montreal," that's awesome. Like, goalie's a different bird. You can tell he's just a different bird. I saw him last year at the New Hook Golf Tournament in Newfoundland, and he's a beauty.
Yeah, I've joked he's almost like a Seinfeld character. He's a real funny guy to be around and talk with. The way he's playing and the way Fowler's played as a backup, Rick, I guess, is it safe to say that we've maybe seen Samuel Montembeault play his last game for the Canadiens?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look at Dobes, 23 wins. The guy is a battler. He seems to have that type of character that's resilient to, even if he's behind, it basically motivates him to do better. And he's like, okay, come on, you want to beat me? You better be good at it, because I am in your face. And he's shown that he's able to make those saves that allow the team to stay in it. And as Nux knows, when you have a guy like that, you know that he's going to make that save. He's going to allow us to get ourselves back on track. It gives you every opportunity to feel good about and confident about your game and the chances of winning every game. And he seems to be doing that really well. And I think he's real deserving of given every opportunity to move this team to the next level.
Knuckles, another guy who could have been a Seinfeld character is Slafkovsky. I love this kid's. He's a funny character. His character hasn't changed since he came here through good times and bad times. A lot of fun to talk with. Teammates love him. He had a goal and an assist in the win over the Hurricanes. In 10 games since being put back on the number one line with Suzuki and Caulfield, Slafkovsky has 7 goals and 9 assists. As a team, are the Canadiens better off just leaving him there, or were they better when they had him on that second line with Kapanen and Demidov?
Listen, I thought it was an awesome move when they put him down there because it gave him more of a purpose as far as I got to lead this line. I'm playing with these 2 guys here. I got to take the reins here. And he did. And we saw more scoring depth when he was on that line. There was more coming out of that line. And, I would keep him there. You don't want to mess with that. Come on, the other night against the Islanders, it was incredible what they did. And Slav, people forget, first overall pick, 18-year-old kid, he came in here. No longer we see him getting those hits against him where he's getting knocked off the puck or knocked down and being shocked by the hit. The other night, against the Islanders, they had 2 guys up his butt trying to get him in the offensive zone. He stuck one arm out, protected the puck, come off the wall, and made a play. And you're seeing that consistently now from him. And man, this kid's a beast. When he's skating, he's on top, and certainly playing with those 2 guys, he got the presence of mind to create space for himself, get open when Slick Nick has the puck, or Cole. Hello, he's got just an awesome all-around game. And I think what's really helped him is now sticking his nose in there, having that pushback, not taking shit from anybody. I love that. And certainly the haircut and the beard helps.
I like the haircut. Hey, Rick, that's well, he'd be a hard guy to defend, Rick, I imagine, if you were still playing as a defenseman.
He has made such great strides in so many parts of his game, and you can talk about his confidence. You can talk about his willingness to shoot the puck now. I know we talked about a number of times that he needs to shoot more. Well, he's got a hell of a shot, and he's using it. And it's tough to question when you see a line like that to be so dominant in so many areas. It's tough to consider changing it up because they are a threat. They're amazing to see them work together with passes and plays that they just know where each other are and they execute. I mean, Suzuki, one of the best passers in the league in my book, and obviously Caulfield, he doesn't miss too often, but Slav, he's going to the net, he's crashing into the corners. He has really, really developed his game and understands how he has to play. And what a turnaround! And he's getting the results because of his hard work and dedication to the details of the game that he didn't understand before, and now he's doing it each and every shift. And a great kid, always smiling, and they love him. And it's great to see the results that he's getting because he's doing the job.
Well, Knuckles, Alex Newhook has sort of taken Slav's spot on that second line. In 13 games since returning from his broken ankle, he has 4 goals and 4 assists. What have you liked about the way he's played since coming back?
Yeah, he's making things happen with his speed. He's opening things up for that line. And listen, he had a great start, then the ankle. And a lot of times when guys come back from that, it's difficult to get going again. And he has. He's really stepped up here. And credit to him. That's not an easy thing to do when you come back from injury and then jump in the lineup. And certainly people have expectations for you. The team does, coach does. And, when he first come back, a little bit getting his timing back. And then he stepped right up. And, his speed really helps his team. But again, me, I like the talent. I like the speed. But come playoff time, you need the big bodies.
Well, one concern, Rick, is the penalty kill. Ranks 27th in the NHL, 76.3%. That can, special teams in the playoffs are huge. I believe you played some PK in your day, and did you coach the PK also when you were
Yeah.
an assistant coach? So
Yes.
what's the problem with the PK?
Well, I think it's very important to be unpredictable as far as what you're using against the opposition. When I say that, I mean you don't want to be too passive because the skill set of so many of the teams right now, you give them time, they're going to execute. So I would rather see if they're going to capitalize on their opportunity, they better make a really good play and execute it well because we have a really good rotation as far as the four guys out there, and we want to disrupt what the opposition wants to do more often than not. And I think on a lot of the times that I'm watching, it's not consistent as far as their aggressiveness goes. They need to fine tune that to the point where the opposition is concerned about having time and space. And it is really critical, in the regular season, obviously in the playoffs, that these special teams are firing on all cylinders. And right now, they're going to have to fine tune that a little bit to the point where I would like to see them be a little more aggressive and see if they can disrupt the opposition a little bit more rather than a passive approach.
You talk about being more physical also, Knuckles. I mean, Caden Gooley, I was watching him against Carolina. I think Shea Weber might have taught him a few cross-checking tips. He was, pretty tough in front of the net trying to clear guys out. It's been a tough go for him. He's been injury-prone. He's come back. What have you liked about the way he's been playing recently?
Yeah, that's physicality. It's the way he has to play. He's a big kid, strong kid. One of the only guys back there who's able to clean guys out like that and throw those big body checks. Struble at times can, and he does. Again, when they get in the lineup, those guys, I think him or Abba play a little more like nervous than other players because it's always either one of them are in or out of the lineup. And I know Struble's been in there now, but he's got to play physical like that when he's there because that's what they expect from him. And Gooley, again, he's a talented kid. He got some talent, but the big thing for him is play the body, be a great D-man down low, being able to snuff plays out, finish plays, get the puck going out of your end. And he's really shown that in the last couple weeks for sure.
I know you were at the game Tuesday night, Knuckles, and I believe you had a chance to sit with Arbor a little bit in the press box. Where's his head at right now? What was it like talking with him?
Listen, he's not happy sitting there in the press box, and we certainly had a conversation between the two of us. I'll just say he's not happy sitting in the press box. Who would be? I don't think any of those guys up there are happy to sit in the press box. It's not fun. I've been there before, I remember when I first come up here, I would go to Boston, I'd fight everybody, and then the next game at home, I'd be sitting in the press box. Not fun. And, we'll see what happens. I always tell them, keep your chin up, keep going, work your butt off. That's all you can do. And, I'm sure that gets old too, like sitting out.
Yeah. Before we wrap up here, Rick, just your thoughts on Caden Gooley, and you're talking about needing physicality in the playoffs. Is Jacky a guy they're going to need in the lineup if they get there?
Yeah, I mean, Gooley touched on it there a few games ago as far as he didn't really say it, other than he insinuated that they need to be a little more involved physically, and he's showing through an example. And I was a little concerned that he wasn't the type of player that we had seen before he got injured. And he has found his way back. He's making very good decisions with the puck, and his presence physically is obviously a big part of it, and the opposition is aware when he's on the ice. And now, as you get down to the nitty gritty back there on the blue line, big bodies, big physical players, or even some of the smaller guys are going to have to play outside of their zone, so to speak, in getting involved and getting ready to battle a little more aggressively and be ready to do a lot of attempts to win battles versus losing. So it's going to be interesting to watch. They've got some players now. Let's see how they respond, and they better be ready.
I'm still chuckling about Jakub Dobes using smelling salts behind the bench as a coach. Whatever it takes, the Canadiens will have to be more awake to start games than they were against Carolina. But they showed again that sometimes they can outscore their mistakes. They did it against Carolina, but in the playoffs that'll be a lot harder to do. Anyway, that's it for this week's Hockey Inside Out show. We'll have 3 bonus episodes coming up over the next few days, so you can look for those. The Canadiens will play the Columbus Blue Jackets Thursday night at the Bell Center, another one of those tight playoff games, before hitting the road for 5 games, starting with back-to-back weekend games Saturday in Nashville and Sunday in Carolina. In case you didn't know, Hockey Inside Out is also available now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the Hockey Inside Out YouTube channel. We'll be back with a new Hockey Inside Out show next Wednesday.